Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bitcoin Miners Investor Support Group. We are now opening the doors for all you guys to come in and, well, vent, I guess you could say. But enough with the shenanigans. How you guys doing? I hope you guys are having a great day. What is today? Today's Tuesday. Oh my gosh, time is flying by. But what we're getting on the plate today, can Bitcoin get 200,000 in November? We'll talk about that. I'll give you guys my thoughts on it as well. And then we have some news stories from MicroStrategy, or actually Michael Saylor to be exact. He's going to be at a couple places. Kind of giving his thoughts on Bitcoin Treasury at two companies, Rumble and Microsoft as well. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll just take a look at the miners on the latest short report that I have on them. So I pulled in all the latest data that I could on them, and we'll go through the numbers as far as which ones are being shorted the most now, since the last time we talked about them, all that stuff. And then we'll get into you guys' Q&A as well. Okay, should be pretty easy here. But you know the drill. Not financial advice for doing, only do your own research. Full disclosure down below that. And if you guys would indulge me, hit the like button, helps out tremendously. And if you enjoy this type of content, subscribe. All right, but let's get into Bitcoin here, see what's going on with that one. And I got to go over here, and where do I want to go? I'm going to go here. All right, so on the screen here, Bitcoin today was actually really good, right? It was up. A new all-time high was reached today, 94,105. Miners, for the most part, followed suit, except for a couple, really. Some miners were a little bit above Bitcoin as well. Let's see, where did Bitcoin end up on the day here? Bitcoin ended up, I believe, just slightly green here, was up 2% here on the day. So it was still a pretty good day. Like I said, we reached a new all-time high, which was great. Miners followed suit with that, and some have outpaced it by a little bit, like a 2x. Others a little bit more. Marathon was up a little bit more than that, but they were just catching a bounce back from being pummeled like yesterday and the day before, I think it was, or yesterday, when it went down like 14%. So just catching back up to where it was. And let's discuss Bitcoin getting 200,000 right now, right? Is there a possibility for that to happen? I think we still have a strong chance of that happening here, especially in November, mainly because we still have approximately, about 10 days are left. Trading days is a little bit less than that. We have this week, partially next week as well, because we have Thanksgiving happening, so markets will be closed on Thursday, and they'll be partially open, I think, on Friday. So we have basically 6.5 more trading days left in the markets with Bitcoin and everything else. Bitcoin did a nice job today getting to 94,000. That's only 6,000 away from where we need to get to, 100,000. And based on what I'm seeing here on like the RSI, you can see here the RSI has been coming down while Bitcoin has been actually going up here on the daily chart. Like seeing that, meaning that we can extend this rally even more going into the next couple of days or a week or so. If we look at the 4-hour chart, same thing here. We can see the RSI and the 4-hour chart has been basically flat while price has been going down, but it's also been going up here. So we reached a new high here. And RSI is much lower here than we were back here where we had our previous all-time high, right? So that's a good sign for me there. Looking at the 1-hour chart, I see the same thing happening as well. RSI has been bouncing, but it's been more or less flat while price has been going up. So that's good there recently, right? And then really recently here, we can see that for today, we hit, I like to look at the peaks here on the RSI. So we went over 70, but we also reached a new all-time high in Bitcoin. Going back to the previous kind of peaks here, Bitcoin price was lower at that point, okay? So I like that setup as well. Then when we look at the RSI here, we can see that RSI bottomed out. Here it was kind of low, almost the same spot here, but we were at the same lower price than we are right now, and even so going into it here. So I like the setup here. I think there is a strong, like I said, a strong possibility that we will get to 100,000 before the end of the month here. And then after that, I think 100,000 is going to be a strong sell point, or a lot of sell pressure at that point. A lot of people will be taking profits possibly. We're getting 200,000. So we may come down after that. And one of you guys also in the comments pointed that out as well, which I agree. I think that might be the case there. We may have a little bit of pullback at that point, which I think would be healthy here. So yeah, I do think that Bitcoin has definitely a strong chance to get there. My target for December was 113,000, I think is what I reported for. If you guys remember, Anthony and Bryce are doing that Bitcoin Miners Challenge. That's kind of where I had my price for Bitcoin in December. I'm thinking it might be actually low right now. I think we might go actually a little bit higher than that. But I think we'll have at least probably 2 good weeks and maybe 2 to 3 weeks that are going to be good in December. And then we might have a little pullback as institutions and hedge funds and everybody else is going to be putting down profits for the end of the year on their books, basically. So we might have some selling. We saw that last year as well, right around that time frame. All right. So, yeah, I think things are looking much better for us, mainly because there's just so much more adoption happening here. And coinciding with the talk about adoption here, this is also pretty interesting here that we got more companies getting on board with, let me see if I can close that out. There we go. Getting on board with possibly having Bitcoin as a reserve asset. So MicroStrategy's Michael Saylor is going to advocate for Bitcoin at Microsoft's board meeting. That's happening. He's going to have like a 3-minute speech about that for them. And then offers to educate Rumble CEO as well. If you guys know Rumble is like a competitor to YouTube as well. And they got, I believe, over 100 some odd million on the balance sheet. And they're looking to do that as well. And Rumble's CEO posted on X, should they do like a reserve asset for Bitcoin on the balance sheet? And Michael Saylor chimed in, said, yes, you should. Hit me up for, I'll basically tell you how to do it. And the Rumble CEO replied, okay, he's DMing him right now, so direct message to Saylor. So that's interesting there. More companies, more countries, more states, more everything is happening in this sector. Where can we end up with Bitcoin? That is yet to be told. I don't like being a moon boy, saying we're going to get to 500,000 or something like that. I think conservatively, I think 200,000 is definitely in play. We might go a little bit above that as well, but we might go even higher than that, depending on how much adoption we have and how quickly that actually escalates. So it's definitely going to be an interesting time for me. And as we can see here, Bitcoin right now in November has had a really good November, 30% up. The miners, some of the miners for the most part, haven't had as great of a November maybe, but we're still early, I believe. So things will turn around for us as Bitcoin continues to go up in value going forward. Okay, because we can see that here today also. A lot of the miners were in the green, some were in the red. Bitfarms was up just a little bit, 3%. BitTier was down 2%, but it was also really up nicely here yesterday as well, I believe. If my memory serves me correct, it was up quite nicely here yesterday. So a little profit taking happened here in BitTier. Cypher was up 2%. Cleanspark was up 5% as well. It was down definitely yesterday, so it's kind of rebalancing there a little bit. CORZ was up another 5% as well. It's not too far away from its all-time high. Hive was down a little bit here, 0.69%. Hut 8 was up a little bit as well, only 1%. IREN was up slightly, 1.5%. It's been on a downward trend here. I'm a little surprised by this. If we look at Cleanspark, Cleanspark has been also on a downward trend ever since we had that huge spike on Monday of last week. So, okay, that's not too far out of theirs, but they did definitely go much further below that gap here that we saw. So that is a little bit higher, a little bit lower than the others have probably come down here. Marathon was up today nicely, 9.69%, and that definitely filled that gap yesterday, and then it's bouncing off of that today. Riot, same thing, filled the gap, right? It's up a little bit here now, 9%, or 0.9%, sorry. And Wolf was up 4.83% today as well. So that one's been coming down also from it. So that's kind of where we are right now. Smaller miners did actually a little bit better here. We saw that like Digihost was up 12%. Any was up 10% for really no reason. Mawson up 13%. So those guys have done a little bit better here, but they're also priced a lot lower. So that makes it easier to possibly manipulate, especially since they have less shares outstanding also. And then the ETFs did pretty good as well today. So it was overall a really good day. Nothing to complain about, right? We just need to have miners continue to outpace Bitcoin a little bit here, right? Like some of these guys did, 5%, 3% even, 9%, 4%. That's definitely better than what Bitcoin did today. So as long as we continue to have that, the miners will outperform Bitcoin going forward. All right, so that's it on that one. Also, what I wanted to show you guys here, this is the hash rate or hash price, sorry, on the miner share. This is 1 month, let's take a look at the 7-day here. It has come down here since Bitcoin's coming down and along with the miners, but we have been starting to come back up as well, so that's good. They're back up to approximately, and I have this BTC per day. I want it in USD. Why doesn't it not remember? Yeah, it's been coming up here. It's up to 59 today, so it's getting pretty close to 60 again. We need those hash prices to go up even more for the miners to be really profitable at that point. We're also seeing the same thing happening here with the transaction fees here. If we look at the 1 month here, we can see that in the beginning of November, well, midway in November, we were up 41 BTC per day, 18, 9. Now we're coming back up to 17 and 24 BTC per day. So that also helps the miners be more profitable as well. especially as Bitcoin being at 90,000. I mean, you add on top of the 24 BTC, that's quite a bit of cash there. So that's definitely helping the miners out. All right. So that's it for that. While we're at it, might as well take a look at the network hash rate here as well. Where's that right now on the 7-day average? It is at 739, so that's coming back up here. And then the 30-day average as well, that is continuing to go up here. We are at 731 exahash right now. All right. So that's it on that. We talked about that, all that stuff here. All right. Shares shorted. So this is kind of interesting here. We're looking at the data that we saw back on 10/15, which is basically a month away now. And the latest data I have for these guys is based on the reports from 10/31. So we're still about 2 weeks past that. We probably will get an update here, I would imagine, within the next week or so for 11/15, I guess. All right. But the current number of shares shorted here, you can see that Marathon has the most shares shorted at 70 million, followed by TerraWolf. TerraWolf has had a huge increase in the number of shares being shorted here. And the only thing I can think of that the reason for it is because the stock has gone up so much in percentage gains, and there hasn't been any story. Or we know that they reported when they reported their quarterly results that they are like almost 100% certain that they're going to have a deal there with a client, right? We just don't know what that deal is going to be like. So that's why I think it's getting shorted there, because of the unknown and the possibility of it being a small client or a small. It's not really an order, right? It's more of a small deal, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say. If that's small, like I said in yesterday's video and prior videos, that's going to be a big hit, I think, into the stock price, if that's the case, right? So they really need to have a substantive deal that's going to be of large size, probably 50 million plus a year revenue or more. And then we got Cleanspark with 55 million being shorted here, Riot with 46, Bitfarms 41, and so on as it goes down. IREN, right, is only 9.9 million shares shorted, so it's not that shorted that badly here recently. And we'll take a look at the numbers down below as well on how much that has changed. But as far as percentage of average float shorted, you can see Marathon being the most, 22%, followed by Cleanspark at 22%, TerraWolf at 20%, and then BitDeer at 18%, HUD at 15%, along with Riot. And then as you go down, it's definitely much less at that point. Going down here to share shorted value versus market cap. So these are the market caps of the miners. Marathon's about 6.3. You can see that about 1.4 billion of their shares are being shorted. CORZ is about 569 million. Riot 622. Cleanspark 779 million. Looks like Turbo 594. HUT 363. Cypher 239. And you get the market caps right there. And the number of shares shorted changed from last time. So this is basically going back to 10/15 data. And we can see that TerraWolf had a huge increase here, 11.7 million additional shares being shorted here just in basically 2 weeks of time. So it'll be really interesting to see what that data comes out when they actually report the data for 11/15, which should, like I said, which should be pretty soon here. But that one was increased quite a bit there, along with Cleanspark, Bitfarms, Cypher, BitDeer, a little bit, and Core. Ones that have actually had a decrease was Hive, HUT 8, Riot, IREN, and Marathon here. So it's still surprising that some of these people are shorting these guys here. But going down here, percent of change in shares shorted from last review. So this is a percentage of it. You can see TerraWolf was a huge increase, 24.68% increase in the shares shorted. IREN had a huge drop here, 34.37%. Hive also 20% drop there. HUT 8, 15.97% drop. And then we had Bitfarms, an increase of 7%, BitDeer 8%, Cypher 3%, Cleanspark almost 10% here. And then also Core. Marathon was down 9.26% as well. And then here's the price change percentage from 12 weeks ago. Just kind of looking to see, are the institutions shorting the right ones? And maybe as you're seeing here, we got HUT going down, right? And you got HUT increasing here in value, Cypher increasing in value as well. A lot of these guys actually increased in value from 12 weeks ago, but HUT tremendously, and that share shortage is coming down on them, percentage-wise also. So, and here's a review of basically going back a year almost. We're back to, beginning of the year on this data here for these guys. You can see BitDeer has been increasing recently here as of August, the number of shares being shorted here for them. Then you got Bitfarms, has been kind of a roller coaster ride, but it's definitely been, I wouldn't say double, but close to a double, 41 million shares compared to 29 million just last year. bottomed out around 22 million shares being shorted. And then you got Cypher as well, on how that one's been kind of going up slightly a little bit. That's almost a 2x also for them at 13. 26 would have been a 2x from the beginning of the year, which we saw in September there, end of September. And then we got Cleanspark here, 18. I mean, they're basically, the number of shares being shorted for them has increased tremendously. Almost, what is that, almost 3x here, right? If I'm doing this math right. So that's a huge increase for them, and that's continuing to increase, even though they've been executing tremendously well, getting hash rate up and running. They're at 30, what are they at now? 30 some exahash. Going off my memory, when my memory isn't that great because I have so much data in here, and I don't want to tell you guys something wrong, but yeah, they're in the like 30s exahash. And you got Core also. Core has kind of stabilized here the last couple reporting periods for the short interest on the number of shares. And then you got Hive. Hive has actually been coming down here, which is surprising, right? That's going in the opposite direction. Hut 8 has gone up and come back down a little bit. And then you got IREN, also quite a lot higher from where they were, about 3x from the beginning of the year to where they are right now at 9.9 million shares. Then you got Marathon here. It's another roller coaster ride for them, but they've been coming down as well. And I think that's a result of them possibly operations have been improving, things like that, but still a lot of shares being shorted for them. And then lastly, you got TerraWolf here, peaked and basically in June, end of June, here at 61 million being shorted, and then it has been coming down as well. Okay, and then here's all the data that I track on it, and I'm using TradingView for the float. I was using Know the Float, I think was the website, but they had information from Yahoo, FinZen, I think was one of them, another one, and somebody else, Wall Street Journal, and they all had the numbers all over the place. It's like one had it really high, one had it really low. It's like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. So I just went to TradingView, pulled up that information for each miner here, and I'm going to go with that. That seemed more reasonable numbers compared to the outstanding shares. So I think we'll do that going forward as well. And it's more calculations and all the stuff that I track, historical data and everything else. Okay, so that is it. We'll have to wait and see how things progress going forward as Bitcoin continues to go up. Will we start seeing like the short interest in Marathon, CleanSpark, TerraWolf, and maybe BitDeer as well come down more? And that would be a good sign, I think, that at that point the shorts are basically capitulating a little bit and giving way for these miners to run, right? So that is it. Okay, so sales pitch. Patreon members get access to all my spreadsheets as always. You guys will get that tomorrow. Link for that is down in the description. There might be a couple spots open still at $4 and $5. If you find those, go ahead and grab those because that's definitely a great deal. Otherwise, it's $8 a month. So still a really good deal for all the data that I have on these miners for you guys. Okay, so that's it. Let's get into the Q&A side of things, and we'll see what you guys have to say. Or as probably should call the Q&A the support group, actually. Bitcoin Miners Investor Support Group. But we're going to call it the Q&A. All right, so let's get into it here. What's going on? Okay. Also, with the questions, if you could preface them with a Q or a question before and then your question after that, that would help me out tremendously. And I'm going to go up here a little bit in the chat, see if we can find some questions, pull them from there, and then we'll get through it all in due course as well. All right, here we go. Going to go up a little bit more here. Where do we land up here? Okay. All right, let's see. Okay. Let's see. Aaron says, love the support group. Tough time to be a minor investor with MicroStrategy doing what we are supposed to be doing. We'll get there, right? Just be patient. I think it's going to, we'll get it there within the next couple of weeks, I think, for sure. Okay. All right, here we go. Question. Hi, Seb. What are your plans for the next bear market after selling your positions? Love your work. Thanks for saving us time. You're very welcome, and thank you. Actually following you while cycling around U.S. Oh, that's awesome. Congrats on doing that. That's maybe when I retire, maybe when I'm done with this, maybe I'll do something like that. But that's definitely sounds like something that would be fun to do. As far as what I'm going to do after this, I'm still going to keep track of the miners. And here's the two thoughts on this, right? Is the cycle going to be the same like we've had in the past? Which I'm not 100% certain that's the case. What if this is an extended cycle and we go up even higher than we think with Bitcoin because of all the adoption, nation states, everything else that's happening there? So we'll have to keep an eye on that, see what happens there. But if we have a similar cycle like we had in the past, where Bitcoin goes down, 50, 80% or 70%, whatever it might be, miners go down 80, 90%, I would love that, because then we can rinse and repeat possibly this whole process again. And I'll continue to track the miners, but I'll probably, when I sell out of these guys here, I'll diversify. I want to get into a little bit of real estate as well. I'm going to pay off my school debts that I have, maybe pay off my house as well, and then just live debt-free for once in my 20 some odd years of being an adult. It's always been some kind of debt, whether it's a car, a house, or something like that. I would love to be just debt-free going forward. And then I'll look into putting money into the S&P 500, maybe putting it into other stocks. We'll look into all that stuff, but that's kind of the plan right now. I do not want to be in cash. I may be in cash a little bit, but not much. Right? Okay. Question: thoughts on BTCT, Chinese miner, I believe. I don't cover them. I don't even know if I've ever heard them before, so I don't have any information on them right now. Okay. All right. While miners were gained today, they are far off from the 52-week highs. Yes. Okay. Okay. Can you please answer me for how many weeks or days miners will be shorted? Yeah, that I don't know how long. I'm guessing once they start going up, Bitcoin's above 100,000, things like that. I think at that point things will change. There's always going to be people that are going to be shorting them because they're thinking Bitcoin's going to go down. There's always bears in there, right? But we definitely like to see that short interest go down on some of these miners here. All right, let's see here. Do you think MicroStrategy and MSTX will continue to incredibly outperform miners? This may be panic, but the sentiment is spreading. I think it's just panic right now. I don't think that's the case. Let's take a look at MicroStrategy here on the charts really quick, because we have seen, and we'll do it against, let's do it against Bitcoin here. Let's do that. So let's see how it's doing against Bitcoin here on the charts. Not marathon, I want a BTC. Okay, there's Bitcoin here. Let's do daily, and then let's do year to date on it, right? And we'll add MicroStrategy up on top of it. So let's see how it's done. MSTR, add it as a percentage, same percentage scale. Okay, there we go. You can see that it has 528%. Anytime that it gets a little too frothy, in times it comes back down to reality and kind of adjusts, I guess you could say, right? We've had that happen many times here, and there's recently here since basically September, it's been on a roller coaster ride. So I think it's getting a little too frothy or too hyped up right now. I think we're going to need a little bit of a correction. So what would happen possibly is Bitcoin goes to 200,000. We get a little bit of pullback, 10%, whatever it might be, 20% on Bitcoin. Hopefully it's not 20%, but we might see that just to make things healthy in the market for Bitcoin and miners. And I think at that point, that one might correct back. Because if we look back, let's go back a little bit further. Let's go out a year here. You can see the same thing. There were times where MicroStrategy was actually below Bitcoin at times, but then it definitely goes up and it came back down, even more so than Bitcoin has. When Bitcoin was kind of flat or something like that, it gets a little too happy, it comes back down. So I would just be a little careful on this one right now. But it could continue to go up, right? I just don't know. But to me, it's looking like it's overextended right now on this one. And let's take a look at MicroStrategy by itself. Let's see where things are stacking up on it as well. So get rid of that. Let's go down here to MicroStrategy. Where is it at? Right here. Okay. So let's see. This is on the daily chart. Yeah. The RSI. Let me see. Where's the RSI? RSI is looking actually pretty good on it still. It definitely came down here, went back up even further. That's on the daily. What about the weekly here? Yeah, we're getting a little high here, right? We were a high here as well. Then we came back down. I think we might need to see the same thing happen here. But we still could have a couple of weeks where we go up and then we'll correct. That's at least what I would expect to happen. Now, will that happen? I'm not sure, right? With Bitcoin, anything is possible. If Bitcoin continues to rip up higher, getting to 100,000, then 150,000, this thing could continue to run. So we'll see. But my expectation is that it would correct because it's definitely way overextended, I think, right now. All right, so that's that. Talked about that. Okay, talked about that. Yeah, Roger. Yeah, it only feels bad because MicroStrategy is doing so much better, and we've seen that before as well. This cycle, last cycle as well. All right, what else? Okay, trying to find some questions. Okay, question. Here we go. Question. I like the recent pullback on CORZ as a buying opportunity. Do you agree? Yes, I would agree. CORZ, I think, is going to continue to run up, especially as they get closer to their what do you call that? Energization of CoreWeave's facilities. Well, their facilities, but CoreWeave's going to be using them, right? The lease facilities there. So as we get closer to that, I think it's going to continue to go. Let's see. Hey, Seb, I know you have experience running mining operations, so can you explain how Mara is running at over 100 exahash on mempool, but they only have 40 exahash or something exahash? Love your comment. Yeah. So on mining on the Mara, not Mara, mempool, wherever you're looking at the Mara pool information, that is based on the number of blocks that they have gotten in the last 24 hours, right? So there's also a luck factor to this. I mean, you could get lucky and get more blocks because of your size and everything else, which we've seen that happen before also, but that's kind of what the calculation is based on for their exahash. So I would never go by that number, what's being reported there, because they're calculating the number of blocks and what the percentage of the hash rate you have basically on that. So if you get lucky and you get a couple blocks that are extra in there for you, it's going to look like you're operating at a much higher hash rate than you really are. So I don't like using that number there. I think it's misguiding. And then it drives to hype as well, right? Because then tomorrow they're going to be way down and you're like, well, they had 100 exahash a day. Why are they down to back to 35 or 40 exahash, whatever it might be? So that is the reason for it. And that's the reason why it kind of works out that way. So like I said, do not pay too much attention to that. Pay attention to the blocks they won, yes, because that's actual numbers there and actual figures of what they did mine, and that actually adds to their revenue. The exahash thing is going to be all over the place depending on their lock factor and how many blocks they mined. Okay. All right, Andre, question here. Seb, do you think Mara buying more Bitcoin using the same strategy as MicroStrategy will drive the price a lot higher? Could this be why they are not being shorted? Well, they're down as far as being shorted, right? But they're still way up there. Could it be a strategy? Possibly, right? It could also be that strategy there. We'll have to see how it plays out for them going forward. It's definitely they bought back in the prior cycle as well. And I'm wondering if that's also what pumped the stock back then as well, because they bought like 4,000 Bitcoin back in, when was it, 2020 or 2021? I can't remember exactly when. But I know they bought 4,000 back then. They've been buying like crazy this time around as we get into the bull run again. So it seems like they're running on this kind of hype for Bitcoin thing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I know I don't like miners buying Bitcoin when they can mine at a lower cost. And we know that Mara has had a little bit higher cost than some of the other miners when it comes to mining, because they've had hosted their miners for a long time, and then just recently started buying infrastructure as well, which then does help decrease the cost there, but it's still pretty high for them. All right, let's see your question. Could the reduction in shorts for IREN potentially indicate the potential for an HPC ideal? Well, that could be it too, right? You can look at it a couple ways. Either they have brought the stock down to where they think it's doesn't make much sense to keep it down, or that there might be something possible with that. We just don't know. Okay, let's see. Question: Mara or Hive for more percentage gains this cycle? Oh gosh. I think Mara would be the clear winner there with the HODL, their hash rate right now, and then whatever the guidance they give for next year as well. I think it's going to push the stock up higher than what Hive will get. All right. Okay, Penny Ether's here. Penny, how you doing, buddy? Let's see. By the way, short interest data gets reported to FINRA on the 15th and last business day of each month. It is then released 7 days later by FINRA. And okay, so yeah, like I said, so within a couple of days, we're going to get that probably. So that's going to be good to take a look at that as well. All right. Okay. Question: how many additional exahash do you think IREN will report at earnings? For the month of November, you're talking about? They're at 21 right now, around 21 exahash. They're going to be getting to 31 exahash by the end of the year here, so they should report something. Getting solid, I would expect at least 4 to 5 exahash being installed here potentially in November in order for them to get to the additional, unless they have everything hooked up, ready to go, they're just waiting for energization there, then they can possibly do, the 10 exahash in December. All right. Question, where do you see IREN and Cleanspark by December 31st price-wise? It depends where Bitcoin's at. What I would expect them to be at is probably not where they're going to be at, but I would expect them to be higher from where they are right now, which I think they will be. But I would expect them if Bitcoin's at 150,000 by the end of the year, let's just say, right? Some people are saying that that's going to be the case. I would expect them to be at least 2x from where they are right now, to be honest. All right. Hi, Seb. Thanks for your great analysis. Oh, you're very welcome. What's your price target for CORZ for this cycle? Thanks. I think it's going to be north of 40, actually. If they can, and that's based on Bitcoin going up much higher, right? Higher than 180,000. Them also changing out some of the older machines, getting some of the newer machines from Block, maybe. That I think will help. And can they also attract another customer there for their HPCI business and grow that out as well? I think that would be a catalyst there. So I think definitely higher than $40. I think it would be fair. All right, let's see. Question, what do you think about CLSKW and or stock warrants? It was up 100% at some point today. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience with warrants. So I would refer to maybe somebody that has experience with that and how those all work out. So maybe somebody in the comments can answer that for you. But yeah, I just don't know. Okay. Is DMG a buy? They did market offering to expand business. Yes. But that's the hard part with the smaller miners, right? They don't have a lot of levers to pull on to grow their business. And that's why they're small, right? They have a hard time with it. That one would be like a lottery ticket possibly, depending on how well they do, but they don't have a lot of time here to grow anyways. You got basically the next 9 to 12 months. The cycle is the same as before. So I would put in maybe a little bit into it just to see what it does, but I wouldn't, go all in on anything like that. All right. Let's see. Question. Think of selling half of Bitfarms to buy more IREN at its current price. What do you think? I got to be honest with you. IREN has definitely done better here when it comes to their growth here this year. So I wouldn't fault you for it. We know they're getting to 31 exahash by the end of this year. Then they're looking to get to about 40 some exahash. Don't know exactly when. I'm guessing maybe first quarter of next year as well. So they have definitely more growth there than Bitfarms has right now. But they also don't hodl anything. But they do have HPCI potential there. So, I wouldn't fault you if you did. And I'll be reviewing Bitfarms here at the end of the month as well. See what I want to do with my position in that one. All right. Do you think Cleanspark will get to $25 if Bitcoin hits 100,000? I mean, we're, 8,000 away from Bitcoin getting 100,000. And Cleanspark's roughly, where's Cleanspark right now? Cleanspark is $10 away. We would need to see, I could see it maybe getting to like 16, maybe $18 or something like that, 18 to 20 maybe, if we have a good run up in Bitcoin here. All right. Let's see, where can you buy Cleanspark warrants? I think you can buy them on most exchanges, right? I would think, or not exchanges, but the apps, whatever you use, whether it's Schwab or E-Trade or Webull, you can possibly buy them there. All right. Question, what are your thoughts on Mara's mining performance for the last 24 hours? They are mining at a level that even luck doesn't make sense. Well, how many? Let's take a look at it here. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let's see, what are we getting at here on them? Mara, pool. All right, let's take a look at it here. How many Bitcoin did they mine here in the last 24 hours? So in the last 24 hours, let's see, here it is, screen. Okay, so rewarded blocks, 22 blocks, okay, so that's that. And how many blocks did they actually get here? So they got 3.4, 119, 119, 119. Yeah, they definitely mined quite a few blocks here. 119. I mean, that's definitely a lot. So let me see here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 23 blocks. 23 blocks. Yeah, they're saying 22 blocks in the last 24 hours. Okay. 22 blocks at 3.125. What is that? That's quite a bit of Bitcoin there. Oh, where's my calculator? There it is. 3.125 without the transaction fees times 22. We got 68 Bitcoin. That's really, really good day. Could any of these be their service they also provide for, what's it called? Jeez, I'm drawing a blank on that service, where you can directly go to them and get your block added to the chain through their services. Slipstream. Could any of this stuff be that as well? But yeah, I mean, they're getting 3.23 BTC here, 3.3. So I don't think it would be any of those. And then also look at the size here. Usually you get those filled up quite high. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. They're at 64. I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, unless they're extremely lucky here today on it. But yeah, I just don't see them unless they way under-promised their Bitcoin mining hash rate goals for this year to 50 exahash and actually got it up to 100 exahash somehow, which I do not believe in any way that that's the case. But yeah, it's much better to see them doing that. And then also, let's take a look at it over here. We saw a similar situation last year as we were getting into the colder months with Marathon. You can see it here. I don't have the data going back to past that just to show you guys what they did. But you can see here in December from let me see if their hash rate goes. Okay, here we go. So hash rate from November to December increased only by about, what is that? 1.4 exahash, roughly, right? But check out the revenue, or the BTC mined here. 1,800 BTC mined. That was a just stupid crazy amount of efficiencies and everything else at that point as well, right? And it was great. It was fabulous. But then what do we have happen? Things went down quite dramatically. It's like they had a first halving event here, and then they had another halving event happen to them as well in April a little bit as well. But they also increased their hash rate here nicely, which kind of offset it as well. But their production was just miserable here after that. So I hope it's not one of those situations where they run at 100% on everything, and then we find out that they have equipment failures. That would not be good. But I'm hoping it's mostly on the Lux side of things. Okay, so that's kind of my thoughts on it. That's kind of the way I would think things would play out, or at least the way that they would work. All right. Okay, so let's go back here. On that one. All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah, how does Cleanspark W work? I don't know on that one. Don't have enough experience with warrants. The first time I got experience or introduced to warrants was with CORZ warrants, and I'm still not 100% sure how those work. Okay. Okay. Neutrino, thank you for the information there. What else we have here? Okay. Question, thoughts on MetaPlanet as they are now doing the same strategy as MicroStrategy, buying Bitcoin. Could this be similar gains to MicroStrategy, but just smaller scale? Thoughts? Possibly. We saw that with Semler, right? I think there's another one there. Semler, what is it? Medical devices or something like that. So that could, yes, that could be part of it. Okay. If Mara mining performance continues, would you consider buying Mara? Yeah, if they can maintain closer to 100% uptime, then that makes it more appealing to me, right? But I need to see, 1 month is not going to do it for me, because we've seen it before where they had a fantastic month and then the following month things went off the cliff. So I need to see a steady production updates from them. Why is Riot not moving at all? I mean, Riot's down just like everybody else. I'm not sure why it's not moving that much. Let's take a look at it here. Go back to here on this one, and where's Riot? There's Riot. Riot, we're going back quite a ways here. Daily. Let's go back to daily here. It's had quite a sizable run up here in the recent couple of weeks here. So this is on the daily. So going back to September, basically the beginning of September, it peaked up 150%, right? So I think maybe it's just some profit taking here. We definitely had a gap that got filled, and that might be the reason why. Just need a little bit of a breather here, possibly, before it continues going up higher. I mean, we had other ones that were down as well. Hive and BitTier also being down. Who else didn't do that well? Hut 8, IREN didn't do that well either. Right, it was only up 1.5 compared to Bitcoin being up higher than that. So I think that is, just something that we're going to have these kind of rotations in from the miners themselves, from MicroStrategy, from Bitcoin, and everything else. It's going to be, it's not a smooth ride up. It's going to be a bouncy ride. All right, come back here. All right. Okay, what happens to share price if Cleanspark or IREN announce more ATM? I think it will piss a lot of people off. They should have enough to get to where they want to go to, and they still may have a little bit left over on the ATMs. So we'll find out what IREN reports on that, and Cleanspark when they report theirs as well. But with Bitcoin going up, it might not matter. It just depends on how much they actually dilute and what are the goals to do. What are the goals with that, right? Dilution. All right, let's see here. Question, do you think miners will not have a premium over Bitcoin price as last cycle unless they have a huge holding or are growing to outpace global hash rate? Yes, I believe that they need to be growing, but I also think that historically, if we look at just last cycle, because that's one where we really have a lot of data with a lot of these miners, we had a lot more miners that are being added after the after the peak of the cycle. But based on what we saw last time, it's like right around now is where they kind of start catching a nice flight up basically in price. So I would refrain from saying that's not going to happen right now, right? I would wait at least another couple months before we see Bitcoin going up to 130,000, 150,000, whatever it might be, and the miners are still at these levels or something like that. That would be like, okay, well, the miners are not catching a bid up. It's going to take much more, but it wouldn't make any sense to me because at Bitcoin at 150,000, miners that are making like 600 BTC, I mean, that's, I think we did the math yesterday, it was like 80 some odd 90 some odd million a month. That's almost $1 billion in revenue on a run rate for an annual run rate, right? So there's really no reason why they would be that low for that long, I guess. Let's see, any reason why you don't cover Applied? Yeah, the main reason I don't cover Applied was they never really provided monthly updates, and I need those to really track the miners to see how they're doing. Because if you wait 3 months on a miner to provide some information as far as their operation, things like that, a lot of things change with Bitcoin price, hash rate, all that stuff. How are they growing? And we really need those monthly updates. All right, talked about that already here from Penny. Okay, here we go. Do you think Bitfarms could be well undervalued now and rise quickly with good news about the hash rate in the next few months? Possibly, yes. If we look at, let me see, let's take a look at, where do I want to go to? I wanted to go to enterprise metrics. Here we go. Here's the latest and greatest as of today on that one. You can see that Bitfarms here for future hash rate growth is the most undervalued right now. That's down at the bottom here for future hash rate growth, followed by Cleanspark. And then you got actually Hive at 52, and then Iris at 40, IREN at 54, followed by Marathon at 56, Riot at 69. Okay, and you got some of these guys here like CORZ, which I understand why. Okay, TerraWolf Hut 8, definitely overvalued here in my opinion, based on that. Okay, so yeah, I do think if they start providing some good operational updates for hash rate growth, that might help the stock go up even more. But I also think with Riot being on their back, still owning 19.9%, that could be a little bit of a pressure on it to go up, right? Because the fear would be there that they would actually sell those shares and then keep the price going from up. But we'll see on that one, and we'll review it when they do report the November update. All right, let's go back here. All right, talked about that. Okay. When do miners report Q4 earnings? What data could they use for BTC price to value their HODL? Well, at that point, they're going to use the end of Q4, which is going to be December, right? Numbers, end of December numbers. So Bitcoin's at 150,000. You're going to have a nice increase from where it was at the end of September, which was in the 60,000s mark. I mean, you're going to be up, at least 40,000 potentially on each Bitcoin that you have. So that's going to be huge for the FSB rules. And then I believe Cleanspark is going to be reporting their Q4 numbers, which are our Q3 numbers, because they're doing the fiscal year end. Their fiscal year end ends are in our Q3. Okay, so that should be coming out here shortly as well. Let's see here. Sebastian, between Mara, Hive, Cleanspark, and IREN, which do you think has the highest potential for gains from this point? From this point, I still think, and I think Cleanspark and IREN are more undervalued than Mara, but Mara, doing the MicroStrategy thing could offset things a little bit for them to the upside. So it's tough. I would say Mara, Cleanspark, and IREN, and then maybe Hive, as far as that is concerned, potentially. Okay. Let's see. Dollar price target lowercase for Riot at BTC. I mean, that's not too far away from where we are right now. It should be up a little bit higher, right? We really need Bitcoin to be better than that, even for these guys to really do like a 2x, 3x. All right. Okay, here, let's see. Penny says, not sure if you track this, but Mara posts their energized hash rate. You can get their actual hash rate from the number of BTC they mine. They had 12.4% downtime in October, up from 2 prior months. Yeah, they've been doing better here with operations. And where does Mara post their energized hash rate? Is that on their website? Let me see if we can pull that up. Mara.com. See if that pulls up. Yeah, they're 40.2 exahash here as of 10/31. That's the latest we know on them. So, okay, that's on the website here. So if you guys want to take a look at that, there it is. Okay. All right, let's go back here. All right. Okay. Question: do you think one of the reasons why miners have been lagging is because MicroStrategy have been absorbing most of the liquidity from them? Also, why invest in a business model that is capital intensive? Yes, there's part of it there, and then I think we're going to have a what's it called? A rotation out of MicroStrategy into the miners, especially as Bitcoin goes up at that point. And we've seen that. I've seen that many times in the past, so I would expect it to happen again. Let's see. Do you agree with Penny Ether that Mara should be shorted and is not a very good business even after mining 22 blocks a day? I don't think any miner should be shorted or any company should be shorted for that part. But they've had issues in the past, which I've talked in length and ad nauseum about it as well. With them improving, I like seeing that. So, I wish everybody here all the best with all these guys. I look at the data, the metrics on these guys, and I call it like it is. If I don't see great operations, I call it. It's nothing against the company or the management there or anybody else there. It's just that's the operations that we have with them. So, yes, in the past they had a great December last year, which was fantastic, and then after that things went, to the south side, really, really quick. But yeah, I know that they have higher costs and everything else. So maybe that's why they're buying Bitcoin too. That could be the reason. I don't know. All right. Now, what happens if Bitcoin goes down from here? Any indicators show that BTC is kind of overheated? I'm looking at the RSI. RSI still looks pretty good here. We could still run a little bit higher before we do have a little pullback. And I think we will need a pullback at that point. All right. Okay, let's see here. Penny, okay. Hey, Penny, since you probably know more about the data centers than me, could you tell me which tier of data center IREN has? I think Penny would agree, but I think I would classify their sites in Texas more like tier 1, tier 0, tier 1, maybe somewhere around there. I would say mostly probably tier 0, actually. Yeah. Price target for Bitfarms, depending the high for the cycle, I think it's going to be somewhere between $10 and $20. That's my thought process on that one. All right. Neutrino says, careful with the warrants when they expire. Look prospectus. You may only get pennies for it. Check prospectus. Okay. All right. Question. Hi, Seb. BTC, altcoins, ETF, meme coins are running. Their performance is far better than miners are lagging, then why miners are lagging or underperforming. Miners, it's the halving event. That's the biggest catalyst there for the miners to get beaten down and get smacked around and upside the head because of it, because the revenues got cut in half overnight, right? You don't have that in any other industry except for Bitcoin miners, and they get punished for it. And it takes a little while for them to recoup as Bitcoin price goes up. So we saw that last cycle. I expect the same thing to happen this cycle still. Unless things really look differently in the next 3 to 4 months or something like that. Let's see. Penny, why do you think HODL stocks will go up more if BTC goes up 10%? Pure play miners profits go up by far more than 10%, but it only goes up 10% in value. Yeah, I agree with you there. That's why I'm mostly in like, mostly. I would say Cleanspark was kind of a hybrid, right, where they were selling Bitcoin in the cycle last time in the peak and the going down in the bear market as well. They used that to their advantage to grow in the bear market, and that's kind of what I would like to see them do also this time around. We'll see if they do that. IREN doesn't hodl anything, so I'm heavily invested in them as well. I'm more invested in the miners that are growing nicely into this bull run, because I think they will do much better than the companies that aren't growing, because if you're not growing, you're going to be generating less Bitcoin, but if Bitcoin's going up, you're still going to catch a bit on it, but you're not going to get maybe as high of a value of those that are growing more. Okay, so that's kind of the way I look at it. Okay, let's see. Question: since we don't know if this is a typical cycle or a longer, or when you give estimates for end of the cycle, are you thinking December? Yeah, I'm thinking more like September, October, November timeframe, more or less. If that's like a typical cycle, that's where I would expect the things to be peak at that point. Okay, have the miners been acting the way you thought they would for price point we are at with BTC right now? I knew that the miners were going to have a tough time after the halving event, so I expected that would take about roughly 5 to 6 months after the halving event to play out. That's kind of where we are right now. So right now is that, what is that term there? Gosh, drawing a blank. It's, what is it? I can't think of it, but it's basically prove it or shut up or something like that, right? There's a term for it. I can't remember the term, but it's something like that, where you either prove it or you get the hell out of the way, more or less. So that's kind of where the point we are at right now, is kind of where they should be proving that they are a leverage play on Bitcoin, especially if Bitcoin goes up higher. Okay, so we're at that point right now, but more or less they have been acting the same way after the halving event. Prior to the halving event was different. We had Bitcoin going up in value. We had the ETFs being introduced, which was different than last cycle. Last cycle we had the miners and Bitcoin actually going down in value into the halving event, and then they got kind of creamed a little bit more after that. But yeah, so far after the halving, they've been kind of playing out the way I thought they would. All right. Let's see here. Love your work, Seb. Thank you so much. And then, have the recent underperformance of miners in any way changed your price targets for this cycle? Not yet, no. The underperformance is the market, right? The market can be irrational longer than, that's saying that irrational longer than we can stay solid, possibly. So I don't, and especially since we're still very early in this cycle, if we were longer into the cycle, where we're now in like end of Q1, maybe end of Q2, and things are looking horrible for us, okay, then I might say, yeah, this is a different cycle. The miners are not catching the same kind of play that they did last time. We need to readjust our thinking on it. All right. Let's see. Have the miners been responding the way that you thought? Yeah, I already talked about that one, so they covered that one. Right. Okay. Trying to find some more questions here. All right. Let's see. Hi, Seb. What is Bitfarms price in 2025 with 50 exahash and BTC price at 150,000, 200,000? Thanks. So if we're looking at the peak of the cycle, if they can get to 50, that would be fantastic. I have a hard time, at least right now, thinking that they could get there. I would be happy if they can get to like 35 or 40 exahash. I think that would be great. 50 might be a little far out there for them. But nonetheless, at 2025, depending on how high the network hash rate grows, that's going to also be indicative as far as how much they can mine Bitcoin and what the revenues could possibly be at. But if they can just at least double their hash rate from where they are right now, getting to like 21, 25 exahash or something like that, with Bitcoin going up nicely here. And if they can generate, what are they generating right now? They're generating like 200 some odd Bitcoin, so it'll be almost 400 Bitcoin. So with Bitcoin being at 150,000 at, let me see here on that one. Let's see, 400,000 or 400 Bitcoin times 150,000 Bitcoin. That gives them 60 million in revenue here per month, right? If things stay the same. If they can increase that to a little bit more, then, well, that's definitely going to help them going forward. But right now, they're generating, what are they generating right now? Let's go back here. Bitfarms. Bitfarms is generating right now in revenue roughly 16 million. So that would definitely be a sizable increase for them, right? 16 million compared to the 16 million that they're getting right now. That's huge, right? That should definitely help the stock go up there. And if they increase even higher to that to 30 exahash, 40 exahash, or whatever it might be by the end of the year, they're going to be generating even more. So that will be even better for them. So then we're looking at maybe closer to 80 to 100 million in revenue per month at that point. So then you're looking at a run rate of approximately $1 billion in revenue a year. That's huge. Should the stock be valued at only 1 billion at that point? Probably not, right? It should probably be valued at the very least, I would think, like a 5x from where it's at right now. At the very least, that would give them a 5 billion, right? But could they be valued at between like 8 and 10 billion at that point? Yeah. So that's kind of the way I would look at it. All right, going back here to the Q&A. Okay, let's see. How much Cleanspark mined in the last 24 hours? One of my Patreon members posted it on our Discord server that they were like 20 point something BTC in the last 24 hours. Okay, question. What do you think will come out of Bitfarms meeting tomorrow? I think we're going to see what we basically expect to see. They're going to add another person to the board, so they're going to have 6 seats now on the board, and whatever else they had on there on the plate as well. But I think that's basically going to be it. Okay. Question. With Bitcoin and MicroStrategy going berserk, Wall Street are jumping on the hype. They are overlooking how much revenue miners are making, especially if they have high margins. How long will they stay down? Long enough for them to make as much money as they can on MicroStrategy and Bitcoin, and then they're going to rotate into the miners. So that's where I think that's a lot of the gains are going to be happening from there. Okay. Let's see. Eddie, question, correct me if I'm wrong, but most miners should report positive earnings for Q4, even without FSB rules. IREN, Cleanspark, Wolf, and Cypher have low energy costs. Yeah. Yep. They should. Yeah. Bitcoin's at 100,000 at least. Yes, they should be positive EPS unless they throw in a bunch of crap in there, which they usually do at the end of Q4. Stock-based compensation. They do other things. They'll do, what else will they do? They'll do, oh gosh, I can't remember that word. Depreciation, right? They might do that as well. So depending on how much they throw into it will dictate whether or not they have a positive EPS. But yes, they should have a positive EPS. I would agree there. Right. Let's see. Talked about that one already. Question. So if people are going to rotate from MicroStrategy to miners and then miners back to MicroStrategy, are you planning to sell next huge run up and rotate to MicroStrategy? I mean, yeah, it seems like that's the way it's been working out this cycle, right? Kind of rotation from one to the other. I don't know. I think with the Bitcoin continuing to go up, I don't know how much rotation we're going to have from there. We usually see a rotation from the miners when miners aren't doing that great, going into MicroStrategy, and then when MicroStrategy is doing really, really well and gets a little too overhyped, we see a rotation out of that going into the miners. Yeah, I would expect that to happen. All right, let's see here. Trying to find a question here. You guys are talking about Mara and everything else, the Foundry blocks. Okay. Question. Did you see on Bitfarms' website that they state they have 11.9 exahash online? Well, that would be, is that in line with what I have for them right now? I have them at 11.5, so that it would be a little bit of an increase here currently. I don't know when they updated last, but 11.9 would be 400 petahash from what I have beginning of the month here. Okay. Let's see. All right. You guys are giving Penny a hard time. Don't give Penny a hard time. Penny is a valuable member in this community for us. I've dealt with Penny for now. Penny, how long have we been discussing things on Twitter or X now? Probably going on at least a year and a half, I think, possibly. I don't know if it's. I think it's been about that long. But he always, makes you challenge your thought process as far as the miners, which I love. He has a different contrarian viewpoint on it. He just doesn't see the value there, right? Which I kind of understand. Also, when looking at the miners here, they're diluting all this stuff, and they're not profitable. And then you have the share-based compensation, all that stuff. It's kind of like, yeah, it's like, why would you get into these things? But then you have that golden time frame where you have basically like from right now till the next 9 months, 9 to 12 months, where they are going to be like the golden goose egg happening with them. So that's the time where the miners are the most profitable. That's where they get all the where you reap all the rewards at it at that point, right? If it doesn't happen this time around, then Penny was probably right all along. But I still think it's going to happen. All right. Question: if IREN is a tier 1 DC, lowest uptime, cheapest to make, how do they expect to get an HPCI deal when they are designing the most basic DC? It seems like maybe short report could be partially true. Well, they've stated that at the beginning, right? Dan's been on one of the spaces that I've been on with Penny and others as well. And I think I don't know if it was me that asked him that question on the data center side of things. And he said, yeah, they're like, they can get customers there that don't have a concern with uptime, right? Because they're doing just large language model training or something like that. You don't need, they don't have inference and all that stuff, which you would then need like a tier 3 data center for that. And they can charge a little bit less for the customers for it because they're not offering that, right? So that's kind of the way that they've been working it, and they've been building it out slowly, but they do have megawatts, future megawatts potential sites that they can build out for the hyperscalers potentially, or customers that do require tier 3 data centers. At that point, they can also possibly retrofit their data centers to be tier 3 data centers. It would just require somebody like CoreWeave that Core got, right, to help them fund that, because at that point you're looking at $5-7 million per megawatt to do it. So that gets very expensive quickly there. But it is possible for them to do it. LT says, sorry, Sam, I'm blaming the giraffe on Bitfarms on giraffe ever since she showed up. Okay, well, we may have to do an exorcism on the giraffe if that's the case. Okay, question: could miners issue debt using their HODL as collateral to acquire more BTC? Saylor kind of showed the way. The miners did that a little bit last cycle, and they got in trouble for it. They used Bitcoin as collateral, right? And as Bitcoin was going down, a lot of these guys were panicking and selling Bitcoin and everything else to try to stay afloat, to not get liquidated, basically. So that is not a great strategy. And because of that, I think the miners have really relied on the ATM this cycle. That's more safe, right? Yes, it's diluting shareholders, but it's more safe and you can grow faster because of it. And then if they had the option to get regular debt at a favorable rates, right, where it's 2%, 3%, whatever it might be interest rate, then that would probably make sense. But no bank is going to give the miners that kind of loan because it's just such a volatile business. You're at the mercy of Bitcoin at that point. Unless we have a number of years where Bitcoin is steadily going up going up in value, right? We might have some pullbacks, but if it's steady more or less, and then we don't have these drawdowns of 50, 80% on Bitcoin, then you might have the possibility of the miners getting actually like regular debt there. Let's see, Mark says, Sebmara just mined 2 more blocks, 24 blocks today. This is insane. Yeah, so you're getting a block an hour. I mean, you get, how many blocks do you get a day? 450? No, you get 450 BTC, but you get more blocks than that. You get a block every 10 minutes. How many blocks is that a day? Every 10 minutes, so you got times 6 times 24, so that's 1,440 blocks a day. Is that right? That doesn't seem right. Yeah, each block is worth 3.25. You're getting 450 BTC a day. Let's see here, 450 BTC per day. Or am I getting my stuff confused here now? It's getting late. Divided by 3.125. Where is it at? 3.125. Yeah, 144 blocks per day. Okay. Yeah, so they're definitely, I mean, so 144, let's do the math here. 144, or sorry, 24 blocks divided by 144. You get 16% of the network hash rate times the network hash rate of 730 exahash right now, roughly 730. You get, 121 exahash. That's kind of how the calculation works there. So they're either very, very lucky or they're using Slipstream a lot right now, which could be the case. All right, let's see here. Okay. Okay. Why is Mara being held down so much? All the miners are being held down for the most part, except the ones that are talking about HPC AI. So it's not just to them alone, it's everybody for the most part. Okay. Question, do you think the class action lawsuit against IREN has legs? I don't think so. I think it's a frivolous lawsuit based on the short report that came out. And that's why the stock is so weak and can't catch a bid. But we've seen class action lawsuits against the other miners, and I don't think it's that. One possibility or one theory could be that IREN is based out of Australia, right? They're not in the United States markets. If they change there, could they be getting more? But even at that point, they still have really good institutional ownership in them at like 50% plus. So I don't think that's the case there. It's just IREN's not doing great. Bitfarms is not doing great. Cleanspark's not doing great. Marathon, Riot as well, right? Those are like some of the best, I wouldn't say maybe, those are some of the top miners there, I would say, as far as hash rate is concerned, and they're not doing that great. You got miners that are like Terrawolf, Cypher, Hut 8 now, which has only like 5 exahash, and they're operating at like 3.2 exahash. They're catching a much higher bid. Does it make sense? No. But it is what it is right now. It's just a crazy market that we're in. All right, let's see. Do you think within a month the miners start catching up with Bitcoin and running the way they should? That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm expecting. All right. Can you compare how much Mara mined with other miners like Cleanspark? Well, the only thing I have data on is last month's data. And last month, Mara only mined like a couple Bitcoin more than Cleanspark did. Cleanspark was operating at 30 some exahash and Mara was at 40 exahash. And yet still, Cleanspark almost overtook him on the operation side of things. So which three miners have the most cash? You got, at this point, would be... cash-wise, I think it's going to be Marathon, possibly Riot, Cleanspark, and Hut 8 would be at a battle there. I don't know who has more cash there, but it'd be close to that. All right. Question, do you think Mike Alfred will block you as well? Just kidding. You're talking about the repost that I did of his quote this morning. I was just having a little fun with Mike on that one. No, I don't think so. If he was going to block me, he probably would have blocked me when I said that. Remember when Mike was offering the reward? Bitcoin got over, was 94,000 or something like that. Or not 94, 90-some thousand, whatever it was. I can't remember. And then I wrote something about him getting spanked by his wife or something like that. He's going to be in a doghouse or something like that. No. I've talked to Mike on Spaces, like things like that. I like Mike a lot. And that's what I'm looking for. Mike is a much better speaker than I can ever be, or hope to be. And he's got a lot of information, a lot of wisdom in that. He's been in that space also for a long time. So I do also, what I'm drawing the blank for that, I want to describe it. But you guys know what I mean. I do view Mike very favorably in terms of the amount of information that he provides us here. So I will continue to have good things to say about Mike. All right. All right. What else, favorite? Okay, here we go. Question, I hear a lot of people comparing CORZ deal to what IREN could get, but since CORZ owns and operates DC Tier 3, do you think they could get an $8 billion deal as well or no? All right, let me read that. But since CORZ doesn't, well, CORZ is leasing a HPC data center that they're using partially now for, or all of it is being used for CoreWeave deal, but they're still building out, retrofitting their facilities to become a Tier 3. So they didn't have anything prior to that. So IREN does have kind of a similar situation, right, where they got sites and megawatts potential going forward. Could they also get a deal as well? That's the question, right? Can they get a similar deal like that? And we really don't know. The nice thing with CoreWeave was that they were kind of in a pinch, basically. They got a lot of cash infusion into them. They needed to do something with that relatively quickly. Who could help them out the fastest? Somebody that's already got megawatts connected and just retrofits their facilities really quick to build it out. Otherwise, if you're building out from scratch, you're looking at 2 to 3 years, to do a Tier 3 data center. But having all that infrastructure there already, electrical, everything else, you can get up and running much faster, which is going to take them about a year to do that, right? So that's why they did that. The bigger guys here, right? Google, Amazon, who else is in there? Microsoft, all those guys, hyperscalers. They can, I mean, they got so many megawatts for data centers right now. They could transition some of that stuff to HPCI if they wanted to, and it would still basically double the. I heard this from somebody yesterday. They could double the amount of compute for HPCI without really affecting them tremendously. So we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, I'm still skeptical on all this stuff. We want to see what kind of deal Turtle gets, whether it's a sweet deal, $50, $100 million plus a year. Okay, that's a great deal there. If it's 5 to 10, 20, 30 million or something like that, okay, that's an okay deal there, but it's not what I think the stock was expecting there. Let's see. Hey, bro, I got to do something about the draft. Looks like he's saying it from a nooser. Oh, okay, I see. Okay. The light that's behind it, that's what you're talking about. It looks like, okay. Yeah, it does kind of look like, I'll have to move it a little bit. All right. Let's see here. I am very heavily invested in Bitfarms. If I plan to sell, which miners should I buy? If I'm going to be selling Bitfarms, I'm going to be looking at Cleanspark, IREN, to be honest, and maybe Mara at this point if they have much better operational uptime as well. And then since they're doing like a MicroStrategy play, that could be a good one. But I would say any of those, Riot also potentially, if they continue to improve their uptime as well. Let's see. Okay. All right. Question. I wonder why Mara is considered a moderate buy versus other miners, which are strong buys. Operations. That's the only thing I can think. Operations and the cost to mine is higher than the other miners. Let's see. All right. Mark is saying on average, Cleanspark is averaging, it's Mara averaging 29.4 BTC. Okay, so that would put them in line closer to like 40 some exahash, if on average that's where they're at. All right. Okay. How can miners do a 5 to 10x? What is the way it works? 10x might be tough from where they are right now, but I think a 5x is still definitely doable. And the way that works is as Bitcoin goes up higher, right? Let's say Bitcoin goes to 200,000. So the miners that are generating basically 600 Bitcoin right now a month. So that would include Cleanspark, Marathon, maybe Riot's going to get closer there eventually. Those guys would be generating then $120 million in revenue. So if it costs you only like 30 some odd million a month all in, or 40 million even, let's just say, you're making $80 million in profit at that point. That's where a lot of that growth happens for them, because they become so much more profitable at that point. All right, let's see here. Thank you. Thanks for all the work and the time you give us on a daily basis, Seb. You rock. Thank you very much, and you're very welcome. What time are we at? Okay, we're going over here by a little bit. Almost caught up with all the questions, though. What's the deal with Riot? I'm looking to get back in. How do you compare them with Mara? They've been underperforming Mara for sure, right? Their operations have also been underperforming Mara more so, right? Mara wasn't great either, but they are improving. They're both improving right now, so it's kind of hard to tell. Marathon has a lot more HODL, so if we see Bitcoin being valued more because of that, or miners being valued more because of that, that'll be one to kind of look into as well. At least for the time being. It's not something that you want to hold on for a long time. All right. Let's see. I just can't wait for IREN and Cleanspark to hit 40, and I'm out. Would that happen around BTC 125? More than that. You're looking at possibly around 140, 150,000, somewhere around there. That's kind of where I would think would happen. Cat's here. Question: MicroStrategy has a market cap of 90 billion and owns 30 billion of BTC. That does not seem to make sense. It gets front run, right? On that one, the theory there is Bitcoin's going to go up higher, so they're going to be valued more. But eventually, I think right they're kind of overextended a little bit right now from where Bitcoin is and Bitcoin's gains compared to their gains. I think we need to pull back in that one. talked about that. Let's see here. Chamath said Bitcoin is going to 1 million. When? I think Bitcoin's going to 1 million also. I just don't know if it's going to be this cycle. Or at least I don't think it's going to be this cycle unless we get nation states, countries buying Bitcoin, putting on their reserve asset list and things like that. Which at that point, okay, maybe that might be possible. It would be basically a 10x from where we are right now. And at that point, it would be a completely different cycle. But oh my gosh, could you imagine that if Bitcoin goes to 100 to a million this cycle in the next 12 months? Can you imagine the miners? Miners are going to be making, geez, 600 Bitcoin a month. You're looking at 600 million in revenue. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't even want to think about it. That would be too juicy at that point. All right. What else we got here? Let's see. If Mara wins 15% of the blocks for the day, this should reduce the mining rewards of others through their mining pools, correct? Yes. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. For highest return, most undervalued are Hive and Soluna. Don't you think? Soluna up 17% today. A lot of people have been talking about Soluna. I'll have to take a look at that one. Hive, I think, is also quite undervalued, but based on their growth, they will go up with Bitcoin going up, right? But will they outperform the other miners? I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I don't think I'm going to be wrong on it. They didn't do the same. They did the same thing last cycle, right? Where the other miners outperformed them because of their growth. And I'm thinking that that's the same thing that we're going to see this time around as well. What will you buy if you end up selling Bitfarms? I'm looking to get more Cleanspark at that point and IREN as well. Okay. Question. Looks like it's all over for the miners. Everyone is selling out and heading over to MicroStrategy. That's the way it looks like, but give it a little time. This is usually right around where the miners would start to go up, right? And we can look at the other data points that we have it from last cycle and kind of coincide with it right here, right now. We talked about it as well a little bit yesterday. There was the charts from one of these sites. I can't remember now the name, but it was showing this is right around the time where the miners become profitable again. A majority of them become profitable, and that's where Bitcoin usually takes off as well as the miners. Okay. What is the incentive for those who are buying the 0%? Isn't there, correct me if I'm wrong here, I could be wrong on this, but they're getting a premium on it if they convert it over to shares, right? I think at that point. All right. Do you think the miners would have started their run by now? I sure did. Yeah, I was thinking right around November, right? We're going to start, so we're maybe a little bit delayed in it, but this is right around the time where we should. So that's why I'm saying we need to give it a couple of weeks, I think, to see where things end up at, but I think right now is where we should be. Okay, yeah, Mark, yeah, you're right. The convertible bonds value is sold at 18 per share, and the paid back is 25 per share, so that's where they're making the money. Would love a deep dive on smaller miners, Gryphon, Sphere 3D, and Soluna. Sphere 3D, I do cover them with the smaller miners that I do. I do that maybe once or twice a month on those guys. But Sphere 3D has now reported their operational update since August. So I'm just behind on that one. So that one is very, very questionable to me. Gryphon has a new CEO there, I know, right now, and they're looking also for ways to grow. And Soluna has been doing these business partnerships for their sites and things like that, which is kind of interesting, but I just don't know how well that's going to play out for them. All right, that's it. We'll call it a day. So again, thank you everyone for coming out to chat, to listen, to vent, and to be in our lovely Bitcoin miners and investor support group here. If you have a friend in need that needs support, bring him over to the channel. We'd love to have him. Okay, but that's it. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I think, who's reporting? No, nobody's reporting tomorrow, I don't think. Well, regardless, it's late. My brain's getting fried. But we'll take a look at what happens tomorrow, if anything, on that front with the miners and Bitcoin, and we'll cover it all. So, again, thank you so much for coming in, you guys. I greatly appreciate you guys. Love you all. Have a great night. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Tomorrow's hump day, middle of the week. We're almost past it. So, I'll see you guys tomorrow.